Welcome to Pet Patrol, Protector of the Pack. I'm Alan Braslow, your host. Today I have with me Gabby Mcallister of Connected Energy Therapy. I think you're going to enjoy today's show. It is very unique, very educational, and very spiritual. Gabby also has another guest with her. He's kind of lying down on the job right now, but we'll introduce him later. He's right down here, taking a quick nap. So, Gabby, tell us about Connected Energy and how you got involved.
Okay. Connected Energy is a therapy I developed in order to help animals and their people. We all have heard of acupuncture and Reiki and Qigong, again, forms of energy work. I take it to a different level with the connected energy because I connect it to the energetic, the emotional source of dis-ease, either in training issues or behavior issues or medical issues, into the physical, so making recommendations of how to improve the physical situation, whether if the animal has cancer or food allergies or skin allergies due to environmental. And then how did I get involved in this? Well, I started off with a traditional career. I went to university, I attended law school, and I worked for a top 10 pharmaceutical ad agency as an executive. All the while, as a child, I had these other skill sets of being able to communicate with animals. People always said as a child, we feel better when Gabby sits next to us when we would go into hospitals. And so around high school, I started studying what I could do because there was no Hogwarts for this, back in the day. So I just studied slowly but surely over a 30-year period, and then about 12 years ago I came out professionally, and I knew there was a market for this because acupuncture was starting to become mainstream, Qigong was becoming mainstream, Reiki was becoming mainstream, but no one was connecting the dots between the energetic, the emotional, and the physical, and bringing all three together to bring a holistic solution for animals and their people with health or behavioral challenges.
How does, I know you work with people as well as animals, how does Connected Energy impact the pets? Can you give us some examples of things that happen?
You bet. I'll start with a wonderful dog that I worked with. This was a few years ago, but they're still a client. This dog was diagnosed with a form of colon cancer, fistulous, and of course the recommendation, strictly Western, was radical surgery, maybe chemotherapy. Young dog, 2 years old, we're looking at quality of life issues. The owner contacted me and said, what can you do? And I'm a very responsible person, so I went through what the Western medicine would look like, what mine would look like. There's no guarantees that the doctors or vets can make or I can make. And from there, the person chose to work with me. Well, over the past 5 years, the dog's been cancer-free now for 3 years with no surgery, no radical chemo. There were adjustments to food, adjustments to supplements. The dog turned out to be the smallest one of his litter. So even though he looks like a tank, beautiful, handsome, wonderful Labrador, very fragile. So he actually, this lab, even though he looks really strong, he actually needs a life vest in the water because he gets tired real easy. So in the process of working on that cancer, though, we think of the type of cancer it is. And I said, well, what's a pain in the butt for this dog? And we started to talk about not only his emotional issues of what was overburdening him in the household with all the emotional stuff, but then also what was going on for his person. And that's how everything started to shift. The person's career got better. Their family dynamics got better. And as that improved, the dog's health improved also exponentially, not just because of the energy work and then the physical recommendations of the supplements, but also his emotional side, the negativity, everything started to be adjusted.
So the improvement in his habitat,
yes,
and in the attitude of his owners,
yes,
definitely going to reflect on him,
yes,
and make him feel better.
And all of a sudden the owner realized by doing those shifts, their life got better. So it wasn't just about making the changes for the dog, because the dog, like attracts like, quantum physics. We attract animals in our lives that are there to teach us deeper lessons if we're opening to listening and connecting to that. And every single client that works with me says, wow, you didn't just help my dog. You saved my life too, because by helping him, I helped myself. And I said, right, this is not about changing your whole life to suit your dog or vice versa. It's that you're an interspecies family. And by doing the right thing and both of you growing and learning lessons and getting healthy, then everything gets better for everybody.
What type of responses do you get from veterinarians? I know, for instance, we work with Lisa Miller at House Paws, and Lisa is very into holistic, and she's into acupuncture and chiropractic and everything that might be non-traditional Western medicine, but more Eastern medicine. What do you find when you have a veterinarian, for instance, in this case, who's saying we need to do radical surgery and chemo and blah, 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 and then here you come along with something that's taking money in their mind out of their pocket because they're not going to make the profit on it?
Well, it depends. You've made a really good point that I want to address before I start to say it depends and talk about that. With Western medicine, with pets and with people, the paradigm is disease management, not quality of life. So you're right. If it's a certain point of view where it's based on disease management, yes, they then see money being taken out of their pockets. If they see it as quality of life, then they are a more collaborative, confident individual that says, okay, if we just shift this paradigm a little bit to quality of life, then there's room for Gabriela or Gabby, and there's room for them, and they don't lose, because then I obviously love to have the Western medical tests validate what I say, and vice versa. So then I will refer to a vet. So they actually don't lose if they can come from a place of confidence and expand their knowledge base around the holistic. Because some vets, again, will see my therapy, which is the energetic work, is all hands off. So I can change the whole top line of a horse, chiropractically adjust. Owners will see it happening as I'm doing it without touching them, because it's the quantum physics. If matter is just, this is just frozen energy, and I can focus on the cellular level and shift everything, I can actually adjust, do the acupuncture, cold laser, all that stuff in one without causing any discomfort, which you'll see more with acupuncture sometimes and more with chiropractic when you do the manual adjustments.
You mentioned cold laser, because I know there are veterinary lasers for laser therapy.
Yes.
Would you then be working with the veterinarian who's doing that while you're doing what you do, or
yes.
How does that work?
That's a great question, because cold laser is a very specific range of frequency. So you're basically putting the healing in a box. You're saying, we're going to use cold laser, and it has this specific frequency which is known to humans. So when you add me on top of cold laser, I'm adding frequencies and changing things on an energetic level that far surpass the cold laser. So the cold laser is great. They can use that weekly and then add me every 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the severity of the illness. Say if we're dealing with spinal degeneration of a dog, and we've all seen it. The back end is dying, the nerve ends are dying, but the front of the dog is alive. The cold laser will do a lot in the short term, week by week. Like some people will use it every other day if they actually buy a machine for their home for their dog. But then they'll bring me every 2 to 3 weeks to do the additional work, which will actually even surpass the cold laser or bring it farther along than just with the cold laser itself.
Okay, so not having it at the same time exactly, but in a sequence of these treatments take place, like with the cold laser, and then a treatment takes place with yourself, and maybe some of the cold laser. So in essence, you'll work with the veterinarian to come through with an entire plan.
Exactly, and we coordinate it. So when I say that it has to be at different times, I'm not saying that because it interferes with my work or that I'll interfere with the cold laser, but I kind of function on a very analytical level. So I want them to do the cold laser first, see the results, then add me, and then see the, right, because you really kind of, I do the same thing with supplements, one at a time, what's working, how's it working, and what it's doing.
Don't throw everything at it at one time. We're going to take a quick break. This is Pet Patrol, Protector of the Pack. Let's hear from our sponsors. Thank you, sponsors. And then we will be back with Gabby Mcallister.
Today's show is sponsored by Hargrove Demolition, your demolition experts. Hargrove is a family-owned and operated business right here in the southern New Jersey area, bringing you 45 years of demolition expertise. Hargrove has all your demolition needs, from emergency demolition service to demolition equipment rental. Hargrove is one of the state-approved recycling facilities right here in the southern New Jersey area. No job is too big or too small for Hargrove Demolition. Contact them today at one of their 3 locations.
When it's time for Jersey Mike's to give a sub some sizzle, this is the way. The way it's always been. The way it always should be. The way it always will be. Because that's just the way it's supposed to be. Jersey Mike's. Be a sub above.
If you haven't been to Speed Raceway, what are you waiting for? You want to live fast? You want to make every second count? Then grab the family. Round up the guys. Speed Raceway is 100,000 square feet of excitement, whether you're a kid or a kid at heart. Speed Raceway is the place for endless fun all summer long. Log on to speedraceway.com or just get here now.
When we make Beyond Natural dry dog and cat foods, we start with real meat as the first ingredient. We leave out corn, wheat, and soy. And we own where our dry food is made. 100%. Can other brands say all that? For nutrition you can trust and your pet will enjoy. Does your food go beyond? Learn more at purinabeyond.com.
Extra Innings is the nation's premier indoor baseball and softball training center, featuring indoor batting cages, 7 multi-use tunnels, and training rooms. Extra Innings can provide professional instruction, private and group lessons, and the best year-round clinics. Along with a nationally recognized pro shop that features the latest and widest selection of equipment and apparel, our experienced staff can provide you with the right instruction and help you find the best equipment for your ability and budget. Extra Innings, where the game never ends.
Today's show has been sponsored by More Than Gifts. Come see our new location in Marlton, New Jersey. Not just gifts, but more.
Welcome back to Pet Patrol, Protector of the Pack. This is Alan Braslow, your host. And again, today I have with me Gabby Mcallister of Connected Energy Therapy. We were talking during the break, and our other guest decided to end his nap and join us. I think he'll bring a lot to this interview. Gabby, you want to introduce our next? Let him pop up his head.
You bet. Baldur. Up. Good boy. Oh, he's going to take a big stretch. This is an East German Shepherd. His name is Baldur. He is here today because he is my personal dog, part of my family. I don't refer to them as pack, part of my pack, because it's an interspecies family. I'm not a dog and he's not a human. So interspecies child, if you will. He is the example of what a connected dog looks like. I bring him everywhere with me. I apply emotional literacy for animals, ELA, with him. A lot of times people will say, well, he isn't quite perfect. And I said, well, if you want perfect, go to Radio Shack. Because they have their own minds. He loves to work. He loves to be an example of how a dog should be able to go everywhere with you. Travel, be amazing in hotels. Every hotel I've ever stayed at when I cross-country ski says this is the best-mannered dog they've ever met. He's a little antsy because he's been laying down with his head down. He's been super quiet because he knows he's working. And he is waiting for the moment that he can go fetch a ball and jump up the air and act like Tigger the tiger. That's what he does.
You mentioned emotional literacy.
Mm-hmm. Good boy, thank you.
Tell us about emotional literacy. Explain that to those of us who don't know what it is.
Okay. So as you guys just saw, he laid down. So as Alan was speaking to me and I was talking, I was actually telling him in my head, I don't need you to put your head down, but I need you to lay down now and stop whining because we need to talk. So emotional literacy for animals is like with people. Emotional literacy, when you do training and development with human beings, is about putting yourself in the other person's shoes and communicating with them in that way to be the most effective at your communication, which includes active listening, which includes giving why you want someone to do why you want them to change behavior or do something you want them to do. It's an element that's missing in training and development. I don't replace a trainer, but when you have an incredibly intelligent animal that you're working with that refuses training, it's usually because it's too remedial for them and they want to know, well, why do I have to sit? Why do I have to perform for you? Why do I have to do a trick? Balder's very much this way. So when I ask him to come on set with me or in a public place, and I'm asking him to do what he's doing now, which is to lay down quietly and listen and pay attention to what we're doing today, I'm not asking him to show how great I am. I'm asking him to be well behaved as an ambassador for other dogs so that other dog people with their pets know that your dog can be like this. Your dog can go everywhere. Your dog can have a fuller life than just sitting in the house if you train from the perspective of why. These are not tricks that we ask them to do. It's not control. It's actually they have to learn our language. They have to learn our human rules besides all their rules. So they have a bigger job than we do. They have more responsibility. So I tell him, you'll make other dogs' lives better by being a great example of how to partner with me. Does that make sense with the emotional literacy?
It does. I really do believe also that when you talked about active listening, I think our pets, or the four-legged members of our family, tend to do better active listening than most people do because they're not looking to respond to you. They're hearing what you're saying and they're processing it.
Because it's another language, so it takes time, correct?
And then I always look at our dogs, and they kind of look at me when I'm done talking to them, and then I'm saying, "So, wonder what's going on in there." Probably thinking about, okay, let's see what he said. Does it have any validity, and how do I want to react to it? Because they've waited until I've finished my entire diatribe, and they've digested it before they're going to say something. People tend to get involved and they don't listen. They're worried about what they're going to say.
Exactly, and that's where active listening comes in. A lot of times I'm constantly skilling people, or I coach my human clients to, at work, whatever challenges they have, or even at home with personal challenges, I'll say, instead of responding, paraphrase what the person said to you to make sure that you actually understood what they were saying, and it gives you time to think about an appropriate response as well as making sure that you understood what they were trying to communicate. And then on a third level, they feel heard, so they're much more engaged in your conversation, like, wow, so-and-so is really listening to me because they heard me. Or, like we're seeing here right now, you can tell me, Gabby, I want you to have red on the next time we meet. You say red to me. Red in my head and red in your head are two different things. We might be speaking the same language, but even there, because of experiences, personal choices, those things are all going to differ. And so when you deal with another species, like a dog, it's the same thing. Like you said, they actually slow down, except for this one. He doesn't slow down. I'm not even halfway through my sentence. He's hearing my thoughts, which most of them hear what you say in your head before you've actually spoken the words. There is an energetic value to thought that other species connect into.
I was thinking as you were talking, one of my dogs is a therapy dog, and I can walk with her. I don't have to say a word. I stop, she stops. I start to walk, she starts to walk. and it's as if she's reading my thoughts. She
She's
does a better job than I do.
Well, because they're forced to use that muscle, if you will. People will look at me and say, oh, you have a gift. And I get a little bit upset about that because there's a lot of people running around with a gift that is untrained and unschooled, and then they try to give advice and they make a lot of mistakes which could cost an animal or a person their life based on medical or even training advice if they're not professionals. And so you're right, though she's got to work that muscle of those other skill sets in order to do her job effectively. And as you know, I mean, you already know this, she loves her job. The best, you have found the perfect job for that dog. So she really tunes in because she wants to be her best. She wants to do the best job possible because her whole modus operandi is to be of service.
That's true. When I take her for therapy work, you can see her smiling when she's doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
And she's totally focused and zones everything else out.
Yes.
Something else you mentioned too when you were talking about the active listening. Do you do a lot of work with individuals? And I'd be curious how many of them are salespeople, because salespeople need to learn how to listen instead of talking.
This is a good laugh. I actually worked for a top 10 training and development company, which is why I learned so much about human behavior and psychology. And then people today even say to me, well, you apply the same listening skills and all those skills that you have, communication skills, to these guys, other species, dogs, polar bears. I mean, I've worked with wild and domestic. And I'll say, yes. And they said, well, you treat them like they're human. No, but they have all the feelings, all the needs that we have within the context of their species. So you take all the communication skills we're talking about, emotional literacy, for example, specifically, and you apply that within the species of a canine, you become so much more effective in working with them. And you add an element that straight training leads out. Because you're right, salespeople, I used to help Walmart sales staff, which is always interesting because it's, they bully their way through. There's no reason to sell because they own the market. So they had a very rough way style. Emotional literacy, forget it. They had none of that. But what they found was if you educate more than sell, that's actually what great sales is you educate, let the person process, and let them come back to you. What's training a dog? You're doing a sales job. You want said dog to do X, Y, or Z, and you better sell it. Why do you want them to do that? Why is it important for them? This is the stuff that training leaves out. The dog might say to me, why shouldn't I cross that road? Why I want to go have fun and chase that bunny rabbit that's going because I got my prey drive. They get real crazy. And you bring them back to rational thought and go, because there are these vehicles that could squish you. And then you could get hurt. It is for your benefit to listen, to know, because if I tell you to stop, his emergency word is no. If I yell no when I'm out, that means stop, drop, and roll like you're on fire. He knows to just halt because there's something we need to be aware of. But he knows I'm doing it not because I'm trying to exude a magic trick out of him and impress people around me. There's a safety issue involved for him.
That's a very good point. It's a very good point. I want to get back to that. We're going to take a quick break, a commercial break. Again, this is Pet Patrol, Protector of the Pack, and we'll be back with Gabby Mcallister of Connected Energy Therapy in just a couple of minutes.
Sub some sizzle. This is the way. The way it's always been. The way it always should be. The way it always will be. Because that's just the way it's supposed to be. Jersey Mike's. Be a sub above.
Simply Gents, located in Marlton, New Jersey, takes care of all your grooming needs, including haircuts, straight razor shaves, massages, facial, manicures, pedicures, and waxing. To find more information or book an appointment, Visit us online at www.simplygents.com. The secret weapon of a well-groomed man, Simply Gents.
If you haven't been to Speed Raceway, what are you waiting for? You want to live fast? You want to make every second count? Then grab the family. Round up the guys. Speed Raceway is 100,000 square feet of excitement, whether you're a kid or a kid at heart. Speed Raceway is the place for endless fun all summer long. Log on to speedraceway.com or just get here now.
When it's time for Jersey Mike's to make a really great sub, this is what we do. It's what we've been doing. It's what we've always done. It's what we'll always do. So what are you doing? Jersey Mike's. Be a sub above.
Today's show was brought to you by Alicia Kelly of White Horse RV Center in Williamstown, New Jersey. Alicia is your RV expert. Contact Alicia at whitehorserv.com or give her a call at 856-262-1717, extension 203. When you think of RV, think Alicia Kelly.
Today's show has been sponsored by Farmers Insurance in Voorhees, New Jersey. To protect your assets and the people you love, call Mike Skoranek, your local Farmers Insurance agent, at 856-336-2553.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Welcome back to Pet Patrol, Protector of the Pack. This is Alan Braslow, your host, and again with me today is Gabby Mcallister of Connected Energy Therapy. We were having a discussion during the break about active listening, which we can go into a whole show about, and how so many of us do not actively listen. We're too eager to respond, so we miss half of what was said to us. But that'll be a whole other show that we'll need to do. One of the questions I had, I was told that you don't have to physically be present with the animal or the individual that you're working with. Can you explain that a little bit? And then we have some great pictures, I understand, which we want to share with folks. Arrow, who is a horse. But if you could start off with, you don't have to physically be there.
No, actually, I'm never with my clients. I'm as green as you can get. I don't need a formal office. People don't have to drive. There's no being late. They are in the comfort of their own home or wherever they're at, which is very important to a lot of people. They maintain their privacy. The dog, especially when I'm working with dogs, won't get all upset because a new person is coming in. So it's a very calm experience. If the whole planet, if matter is frozen energy, everything is connected. It's literally why I trademarked the name. Everything is connected. I don't have to send anything 10,000 miles away, say in India, where I have Olympic level dressage horses that I work with. Just thinking it there, it's there. And people see the changes immediately with their animals, with themselves. If they're having a back problem, a knee problem, sometimes when I'm working on a horse with mobility issues like arthritis, usually the human has a mobility issue. And they'll say, oh, my rheumatoid arthritis, I forgot to take my meds today. It's just stopped hurting. Are you working on me too? And I said, well, I'm working on the horse, but because you guys are connected, because you're family, then you are also a recipient getting work done.
Are you speaking with the individuals, Skyping with them when this is taking place?
Yes, domestically within the U.S. I use the phone. So we talk for about 15, 20 minutes to find out what's going on. I function like a doctor. It's not a magic trick. I don't do psychic readings. I want to find out what the problem is. We hang up the phone. I work on them for 45 minutes. They can do whatever they need to do. If they need to be on the computer while I work on them, or their dog, or their pet snake or bird or whatever, horse, They can go for a walk, they can listen to music. There is nothing that will stop my work from working. And then we'll get back on the phone 45 minutes later and we'll do a debrief, and that's usually about a half an hour. And I'll make all my recommendations as well as information that has come up that is relevant to the situation.
That's fascinating. We have some pictures of Arrow, and I think the folks would enjoy hearing. Tell a little bit of history of Arrow, and then we'll bring here's the first picture, and maybe talk to the pictures as well.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to this picture. This is great. Thank you guys for putting this up first. So my animals are a reflection of my work. Arrow is really an ambassador on many levels. He was rescued at 19 for being too old to work, broken down, Black Beauty Hidalgo story. He was a rental horse in the park. He has that mask on his face that you saw in the first picture. He was diagnosed with uveitis in the spring, which is a disease that blinds horses that is not curable. And I had a vet out the other day, and I did all my protocols, 3 sessions a week. I basically said, horse is not going blind on my watch after what he's been through. That mask is made by an amazing company, Guardian Horse Mask. They actually, it stops 95% of the UV rays, which makes uveitis worse for the horse. But the vet came out a couple of weeks back and told me the horse is fully sighted, no uveitis seen. Was scratching his head. He goes, was it a misdiagnosis or was it you? And I said, well, is it possible it was misdiagnosed? He said, not likely. The damage is there. It's done. It doesn't revert back. So he has the mask on there. He looks like has the body of a 10-year-old. Turns out Arrow kept showing me pictures of an older cowboy, of Native Americans. I did not understand him. I'm a very logical person. He kept saying, I'm special. And I said, oh, baby, we're all special. Well, I started posting photos of him online because his conformation was so unique, how he's built. Turns out he is from the famous horses of Blackjack Mountain. He is an endangered breed, a stolen horse. Bryant Rickman, the spirit of blackjackmountain.com. It's his herd. There's only 300, I think, 50 left, 200 to 300 left. He is a protected breed. He is a Choctaw Spanish Mustang. Bryant Rickman is an older cowboy explaining the images of the Native Americans around him. This is the only breed kind of recognized by the State Department of having been on the Trail of Tears from North Carolina to Oklahoma, where the Native Americans were moved to. So these horses are very much a part of history, and they're becoming extinct. And not a lot of people know about them. These horses were featured in the movie Hidalgo with Viggo Mortensen, which was a Disney movie. And Bryant Rickman is a horseman. He's not a businessman. But I flew to Oklahoma, met everybody, saw his 501c3. It's one of the few that I will endorse besides the one that I sit on the board of directors for, which is rescuemeincorporated.org, that people can find an all-species rescue. There's so many rescues doing great work, but there's a lot that aren't, so I'm very particular about who I endorse. But Arrow serves as an ambassador for senior animal rescue. He outdoes horses more than half his age on hunter paces, endurance rides. He's amazing. People can't believe he's 21 years old with the damage that he's had done to him. He's extraordinary.
And he's been part of your family for how long again?
2 years now, and when I first got him, he was absolutely dangerous, and you can see in most of the pictures, he just has a rope around his neck. He's wonderfully peaceful, let go of the anger, let go of the hatred, to just be present now and enjoy his life now.
Now, he gets along with the other members of the family as well?
Great question. That's an intuitive one. No.
There are some sibling rivalries going on?
Baldur loves Arrow. Arrow cannot stand Baldur. He used to see Baldur as a predator dog. He was a feral animal, so he's a Mustang. He looks for predators and deals with them appropriately. He knows that Baldur's part of the family. Baldur just gave me a look, like, I'm not a mongrel. Arrow calls him, keep the filthy mongrel away from me.
He's actually looking the other way now, like,
yes.
You really said this about me?
Yes, because he heard Arrow chimed in too, saying, He gets you all day long. He works with you in your office. I get you for 2 hours a day. I expect to have that 2 hours to myself.
What do you think, Baldor?
He said, right,
We're talking about you.
he said I should be able to go everywhere I want to go.
Yes, I agree with you, Baldor. My dogs, it's what they are in charge, whatever they want. Totally understand. I think he and I have hit it off.
Oh, yes. He had a ball smelling all your animals, too.
Oh, without a doubt. You'll find everything.
Oh, yes. He's all nose.
That's interesting. Tell folks how they can connect with you. The website, if you take phone calls, how they can reach out to you and learn more about what you're doing and how you can help them.
The best way is my website. You go to www.healer, Healer, TV, T as in Tom, V as in Victor, .com. So you go to healertv.com, and there is all the information you could look for. You can email me questions. My fee page is there, how sessions work, testimonials galore. I'm very grateful for all my wonderful testimonials.
What type of messages would you like to leave with folks? Because hopefully the last thing we hear is typically what we remember. What can you share with folks as to why this works, why they should be open-minded and get a better understanding of what you do?
There was a period of time where people ran around and said the earth was flat. And there were a few people that said it was round. Science caught up, and guess what? The world is round. Energy is real. Connected energy, energy therapy is real. It should be added to your training regimen if there are challenges and you think nothing can solve it. If you've got a health challenge, it doesn't preclude Western medicine. It is inclusive. It does nothing but show results. So I tell people, all you're going to do is one session. If you don't see palpable results, okay, but in 12 years, I've never not had palpable results. So it adds another layer because quality of life is everything. And when we understand that, it just opens up all new doors of learning and experience, you know, for yourselves, like the First Lady I spoke about with her dog, changed her life, changed the dog's life. That's what it's about, quality of life and making everything better.
Trying to think what other questions I have. This is going to take me a lot of time to digest, understand, spend a little bit more time on your website. Maybe my new friend Baldor will communicate with me.
He will.
And I can introduce him to, we'll talk about this afterwards, how I can introduce him to my four-legged family. And maybe they can communicate. Be interesting, the stories they'll have to tell each other.
They absolutely all swap. Horses, dogs, they all talk about everything. It's wonderful.
I think it'll be interesting. And I wish I could listen in on their conversation. Well, folks, I want to thank you for joining us today. Gabby, thank you very much for being here. This has been very, very interesting. There's a lot I've learned. There's a lot more that I want to learn. Folks, the world is not flat, contrary to what some folks may tell you. Gabby, you've got it right. We will look forward to continuing this conversation. Thanks for visiting Pet Patrol, Protector of the Pack. We will see you next time around.